What do you do when you're the king of the mobile world? The company everyone depends on for their phones? And then suddenly you're forgotten? How does a market leader like Nokia, who at one point controlled 40% of the global mobile market, go from being a titan of tech to a nostalgic relic? Stick around, because the fall of Nokia is not just about a company losing its crown. It's about a giant crashing, burning, and finding a surprising new purpose in the tech world. Imagine this. It's 2007, and you're holding a Nokia phone, the sleek, indestructible device that has been in the pockets of millions worldwide. For years, Nokia was untouchable, controlling the mobile phone market with their rugged, reliable devices. In 2008, they generated over $76 billion in revenue, a number that made them a household name and a powerhouse in mobile communications. But as the world saw the launch of the iPhone in 2007, something changed. Nokia had dominated, but when Apple introduced its groundbreaking smartphone, everything shifted. The iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a revolution. Unlike the bulky, functional designs of Nokia's bestsellers, the iPhone was sleek, had a touchscreen, and offered a seamless user experience that people couldn't ignore. Nokia was positioned perfectly to adapt. They had the market share, the resources, and the brand recognition. But here's the kicker: they didn't take the threat seriously. In fact, internal reports from Nokia show that their engineers mocked the iPhone, calling it an overpriced, niche product that wouldn't survive the test of time. While Apple was redefining mobile tech, Nokia was stuck in the past. They dismissed the future in favor of old, outdated strategies. This was the first sign that something was seriously off. Part 2. The iPhone killer that failed. Fast forward to 2008, Nokia launched its much-hyped N97, branding it as the iPhone killer. It had all the bells and whistles: a 5-megapixel camera, a slide-out keyboard, twice the storage of the iPhone, and a touchscreen. Nokia was so confident that they even called it the ultimate answer to Apple's dominance. But what happened when it hit the market? It flopped, and it flopped hard. The N97 was bulky, the touchscreen was unresponsive, and most importantly, its operating system, Symbian, couldn't keep up with the rapid advancements in mobile software. The interface felt outdated and clunky compared to the smooth experience of the iPhone and Android devices. Meanwhile, Apple's App Store had over 100,000 apps when Nokia launched its own store with just 500. The writing was on the wall, and Nokia missed it. If they'd paid attention, they would have realized that the world wasn't just looking for a new phone, it was looking for a new experience, one that they could only find on smartphones like the iPhone and Android devices. Instead, Nokia clung to its old ways, focused on features that no longer mattered, and ignored the growing demand for an intuitive, interconnected ecosystem. But Nokia kept their head in the sand, and in doing so, they sealed their own fate. Part 3. The man who destroyed Nokia. Or did he? In 2010, Nokia hired Stephen Elop as their new CEO. Elop, a former Microsoft executive, was seen as a change agent, the kind of visionary who could steer Nokia into the future. On his first day, Elop made a bold move. He gave the now infamous burning platform speech. He told the company that they were standing on a burning platform and that they had no choice but to jump to survive. While the speech was meant to inspire urgency and spark change, it had disastrous consequences. First, it leaked, and instead of motivating the employees, it painted a picture of doom. Nokia's brand took a huge hit, the shareholders lost confidence, and morale within the company plummeted. But what was worse was what followed. Elop chose to abandon Nokia's flagship operating system, Symbian, and forge a partnership with Microsoft, opting to adopt the Windows Phone as Nokia's exclusive mobile OS. This decision, made behind closed doors, left Nokia's future hanging by a thread. Elop was faced with a tough choice: adopt Android, the market-leading OS, or stick with Windows. He chose the latter, creating a massive rift that would haunt Nokia for years. But what was the result? The Windows phones were too different and too limited. The Lumia 800 and Lumia 710 both failed to gain traction, and the app ecosystem was underdeveloped compared to iOS and Android devices. The Lumia phones would sell just 52 million units in total between 2011 to 2014, and that number barely even scratched the surface of competitors like Samsung and Apple. Elop's loyalty to Microsoft was evident, but Nokia's loyalty to the market was gone. Nokia had lost its footing in the mobile phone wars, and instead of adapting to consumer needs, it tried to make consumers adapt to its vision of mobile computing. But Nokia kept their head in the sand, and in doing so, they sealed their own fate. Part 4. The Ghost of Nokia's Past. What happened to Nokia phones? After Microsoft acquired Nokia's devices division in 2014, most assumed the story of Nokia phones was over. The brand had been relegated to a shadow of its former self, and it seemed like it would never regain its past glory. But in a twist of fate, HMD Global, a Finnish company, acquired the rights to the Nokia brand and re-entered the mobile market. While they introduced Android smartphones under the Nokia name, these new devices weren't the world changers they once were. The phones were solid, but they lacked the innovation and excitement that it once made Nokia a household name. Nokia phones had lost their luster, and despite a nostalgic fanbase, they couldn't revive the glory days of the past. In fact, by 2025, HMD pulled out of the US market altogether, unable to compete with Apple and Samsung's dominance. But what if I told you that Nokia wasn't dead? The real story wasn't about their phones anymore. It was about something unexpectedly else, a transformation that few could have predicted. Part 5. The Unexpected Resurrection, Nokia's Pivot to Network Infrastructure. While Nokia's mobile division languished, its telecom infrastructure business began to flourish. The company shifted its focus to 5G technology, cloud computing, and network automation, finding a new lease of life in the world of telecommunications. By 2025, Nokia was providing infrastructure for major telecom players around the globe, including AT&T, Vodafone, and NTT Docomo, delivering cutting-edge network solutions. This pivot wasn't just a backup plan, it was the core of Nokia's new strategy. They had moved away from the increasingly crowded and competitive mobile phone market and pivoted from consumer electronics to networking infrastructure, positioning themselves as a critical player in powering the digital future. This shift paid off in ways that smartphones never could. In 2026, Nokia holds a commanding share of the global 5G market, with over 300 commercial deals in place, helping connect billions of people worldwide. This was the company's true rebirth, not as a phone maker, but as a critical player in the backbone of global communication, reshaping the future of communication.
Now, let's look at what's next. Nokia's 5G success is just the beginning, as they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with emerging technologies. They're now investing heavily in AI-powered networks, which will enable more dynamic, self-optimizing systems that can handle the increasing demands of global connectivity. Nokia is also preparing for 6G, a technology that promises to be even faster, more seamless, and more integrated than anything we can imagine today, ushering in revolutionary applications like fully autonomous smart cities and real-time holographic communication. By 2028, they're aiming for 60% profit growth and continuing to lead in the field of telecom infrastructure. What does this all mean? Nokia is no longer the phone giant it once was, but rather it has reinvented itself as the invisible backbone that makes our phones, smart devices, and connected infrastructure possible. Instead of competing for consumers' attention with flashy gadgets, it's powering the global digital ecosystem from behind the scenes. And in a world where everything is connected, from smart cities to autonomous vehicles to global communications, that's a powerful position to hold. Nokia is no longer just about phones, it's about shaping the future of connectivity. Nokia's story is a cautionary tale of how a giant can fall, but it's also a lesson in reinvention. Nokia is still here, and it's thriving in a world it helped create, just not in the way we expected. If you want more videos about the companies that changed the world, hit like and subscribe. This is just the beginning. See you in the next one.